It was a warm summer evening in Queens, New York, calm, familiar, and peaceful. For 30-year-old Karina Vetrano, this was the perfect time for a quick jog through Spring Creek Park, just a short walk from her home. Running wasn't just a workout for Karina, it was her way of clearing her mind, enjoying the outdoors, and often spending quality time with her father, Philip. But on August 2, 2016, something was different. Her father, recovering from a back injury, wasn't able to join her. Karina told him not to worry. She knew the park well, and this was her usual route. After all, what could go wrong so close to home? But Karina didn't come back. When hours passed with no word from her, concern turned to panic. A search began, and what her family discovered that night would not only shatter their world, but shock an entire nation. What happened to Karina Vetrano on that fateful jog? Who was responsible for cutting short the life of a vibrant, talented young woman? And how did the search for answers lead to an arrest months later? This is the heartbreaking story of Karina Vetrano, a life full of promise, senselessly stolen, and the relentless journey to uncover the truth. To truly understand the impact of this tragedy, we need to first know who Karina Vetrano was. Born on July 12, 1986, Karina grew up in Howard Beach, Queens, in a close-knit family. Her father, Philip Vetrano, was a retired firefighter, a hero who had served during the 9/11's rescue operations. Her mother, Kathy, was her biggest supporter, always there to encourage and uplift her daughter. Karina had 2 siblings, but her bond with her father was especially strong. Karina wasn't just another face in the crowd, she was magnetic. People described her as a force of nature, bright, determined, and full of energy. She had a creative side too, with a passion for writing. One of her short stories even inspired a film project she worked on with a friend. But Karina's heart was as big as her dreams. She earned a master's degree in speech pathology from St. John's University and dedicated her career to helping children with special needs, particularly those with autism. For Karina, her work wasn't just a job, it was her way of making the world a better place, one child at a time. She also had a love for fitness. Running was a big part of her life, and it was something she often shared with her dad. They ran together frequently, exploring the trails at Spring Creek Park. For Karina, it was more than exercise. It was a moment of freedom, a chance to push herself, and a way to connect with her dad. But on that fateful day in August 2016, Karina went for a run alone, a decision that would change everything. August 2, 2016, began like any other summer day for the Vetrano family. Karina decided to head out for a jog in the late afternoon. Her father, Philip, who was usually her running partner, was sidelined by a back injury and couldn't join her. He told her not to go alone. He had a bad feeling about it, a father's intuition. But Karina reassured him. "Don't worry, Dad," she said. "I'll stick to my usual path." She grabbed her phone, tied her sneakers, and left the house. The sun set, and hours passed. Karina hadn't returned. Her parents began to worry. Karina was always reliable. She never ignored calls or texts, so when their messages went unanswered, they knew something was wrong. Philip called a neighbor who worked with the NYPD, and together, they began searching the park. As night fell, flashlights illuminated the trails, but the search party found no sign of Karina. Finally, around 11 p.m., Philip made the most heartbreaking discovery imaginable. Just 15 feet off the trail, hidden in the brush, he found his daughter's lifeless body. For any parent, it's the ultimate nightmare. For Philip Vetrano, it was a moment that would haunt him forever. Karina's body showed clear signs of a violent struggle. Her injuries revealed that she had been attacked with extreme force. An autopsy later confirmed the cause of death, strangulation. But Karina didn't go down without a fight. Her body bore the marks of her resistance, scratches, bruises, and other signs of a desperate struggle for survival. She had even bitten her attacker so hard that her teeth cracked. Grass was clutched in her hands, evidence that she had been dragged off the trail. Her attacker had also left DNA evidence, under her nails, on her back, and on her phone, which had been thrown into the nearby brush. This wasn't just a murder, it was a brutal, senseless act of violence that left an entire community reeling. News of Karina's death spread quickly, sending shockwaves through Queens and beyond. How could such a horrifying crime happen in a park so close to home? Who could be capable of such cruelty? And most importantly, would justice ever be served? The NYPD launched an intense investigation immediately after Karina's body was discovered. With DNA evidence in hand, detectives hoped for a quick breakthrough, but things didn't go as planned. The DNA didn't match anyone in local or national databases. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. During that time, investigators reviewed 1,700 reports, tested over 600 DNA samples, and followed every possible lead. They released a sketch of a person of interest and shared footage of Karina jogging near the park, but no concrete evidence emerged. Karina's family refused to give up. They raised $250,000 as a reward for information, rallying their community to help bring her killer to justice. Their persistence paid off. In February 2017, 6 months after Karina's murder, a 20-year-old man named Chanel Lewis was identified as the prime suspect. His DNA was a perfect match to the evidence found on Karina's body. Chanel Lewis was a young man from Brooklyn, living just a few miles from Spring Creek Park. On the surface, he didn't stand out, but his background raised serious concerns. Lewis had a history of troubling behavior. He'd been seen acting suspiciously in the area before and had prior encounters with law enforcement, including being caught trespassing in the park. On the day of the murder, Lewis reportedly left home after an argument with his family and wandered into Spring Creek Park. Investigators believe the attack on Karina was random. She didn't know Lewis, and there was no prior connection between them. When Lewis returned home that night, his mother noticed his torn clothes and scratches on his body. He claimed he'd been mugged, but his story didn't hold up. After his arrest, Lewis confessed to the murder, providing details about the crime scene that hadn't been made public. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The first trial in 2018 ended in a mistrial after the jury failed to reach a unanimous decision. But in 2019, during a retrial, Lewis was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Karina's family, the verdict brought some closure, but it couldn't erase the pain of losing her. Her case sparked a national conversation about women's safety, especially for those who run or walk alone. It also highlighted the importance of DNA technology in solving crimes. Karina's family became outspoken advocates for using familial DNA testing to prevent future tragedies. Karina Vetrano's story is one of tragedy, but also one of resilience. She was a remarkable woman whose life was taken too soon, but her legacy continues to inspire. Her family's fight for justice reminds us of the importance of staying vigilant, supporting one another, and ensuring that no other family has to endure such heartbreak. If Karina's story moved you, Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Twisted Truths for more stories like this. Together, we can honor her memory and shed light on the darkest truths.